J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everyone, to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with G. Bush, Jason Lloyd. I'm Adam the Bull. We got a lot to get to. 90 minutes here on YouTube, and then, of course, we go over to WKYC, Channel 3, for those who are watching locally. We'll be on, of course, as we always are, from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. We've got Earl and Anthony behind the glass. We got Steve on vacation, Mikey McNuggets on vacation. Those guys will be back Monday. Guys, how you doing?
Hey, man, I ain't seen Jason Lloyd in a minute, man.
It's been months.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's been football season.
Yeah, right. Well, you work Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you work Tuesdays and
Thursdays.
I'm like the only crossover guy.
Yeah, right.
Jay works Monday and Friday most weeks, and G does Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I see them on those days, especially G.
Yeah.
And then I see Jason and Tyvis on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
You see everybody.
I see it all.
You see it all.
That's it, so.
Good Fourth?
Listen, I didn't do much,
Yeah.
but it worked out. Well, good 4th of July, man.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. We had some people over our house. It was hot. I mean, I did not want to be outside.
Nasty work.
And for me, it was a great 4th because there weren't a lot of fireworks because it was raining last night.
Yeah.
I hate fireworks.
Oh, really?
I do. I can't stand them.
Un-American. How do you hate fireworks?
My dog goes bananas with the fireworks.
Right. Listen, like Jason, you look like you had all the firework privileges when you grew up.
Yeah.
Like you was like the kid that was in the middle of the street, like and just had them.
I have never blown off a firework. In my
What?
life.
That's
I've
smart.
never blown off a firework. Yeah,
That's
never.
smart.
Are you a going to the fireworks guy?
Oh, so in our old house in Avon Lake, you had a perfect view. Like we would have block parties where there would literally be 1,000 people on our street.
Yeah.
Because we had the perfect view. Well, we since moved, but you could still see it from our driveway, so we don't have to go to the parties, or we don't have to go to like where their locations. We was watching from our house. So we had a couple people over. We had friends over, and just watched them from the end of the driveway.
They did have the fireworks last night at Avon?
We had them 2 nights ago.
Oh, okay.
So I think Westlake and Bay were supposed to be last night.
Yeah, but they got rained out,
They got rained out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avon was the last 2 nights, and then Avon Lake was 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
So we had a good time.
In good old South Euclid, they don't let us get that off.
No.
No fireworks?
No, we can't even park on the street. I got a ticket, like being lazy one day. Like I moved my
Just
car
overnight, or you can't park on the street at all?
overnight. Like they like, oh no, from 2 to like I think it's from like 12 to like 8.
Yeah,
They like
a lot
nah.
of cities are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just being lazy.
But today, of course, is July 5th, which is Larry Doby Day. It was 77 years ago today that Larry Doby made his Major League debut as the first black player in the American League, the second black player overall behind Jackie Robinson, less than 3 months after Jackie Robinson broke the color
It's just
barrier.
unfortunate he never gets the credit. It's always and take nothing away from Jackie. I mean, obviously,
It's not about
That's not
taking
what I'm
away
saying.
from Jackie.
That's
It's
not what
about
I'm saying.
adding credit to Larry Doby.
For Larry Doby. Larry had to go through everything that Jackie went through.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like people change that much in
3 months?
2.5 months.
Hey, you're the second black guy. We're gonna treat you a lot better.
We're used to it now. Jackie's been here a while.
We're used to this, right?
It is strange. And, Cleveland has had a reputation in the sports world of being like, a better, long before when other cities did not have black players in their teams, Cleveland was always one of the first in every sport.
I mean, Frank Robinson, first black manager.
Right. I still can't believe that. Like, that to me is mind-blowing that, like, to have a black manager way back then is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the epitome of being a trailblazer.
Well, that was what, the 70s?
Yep.
I mean, it should have happened before then.
Yeah, it should have.
So
I'm with G, though. I'm surprised it even happened then, that it didn't take longer than that.
Man, especially you heard about what Reggie Jackson was talking about it. I mean, they came up about the same time. I'm like, if Reggie Jackson couldn't go to restaurants and hotels, how did Frank? How was he a manager?
Yeah,
Frank Robinson.
But it was probably tough when they went to the South, no doubt about it. But Larry Doby had a great career. He's a Hall of Famer. His son, by the way, or I don't know if it's his only son. I'm not sure, but one of his sons or his only son is a roadie for Billy Joel.
I did not know that.
Wow.
I had the chance to interview him once. It was really cool.
That's kind of a
How
unique
old is he?
story.
Roadie seems like a young man's job.
Yeah, I think he does more than that now. He does like other things.
Yeah.
But like a lot of Billy Joel's crew, they've been with him forever.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty loyal to his guys, and they just, and he.
I just mean like the hours and the wear and
Oh,
tear.
yeah. I mean, but Billy Joel's old.
Yeah, but being the guy that sets everything up and tears everything down,
Yeah, I
that's
don't
even
know.
harder than.
That is, oh my goodness. See, back when I was younger, coming up through the industry, man, ESPN Cleveland had the greatest roadies. Like they was having. That's how you got in. Like I was into in street team back then, and they street team. They had you there interning for a year. Like Lord, you'd be putting stages up, man. You'd be tearing down. It'd be like 9 o'clock. You'd be at some around the corner. Shout out to Around the Corner. The people.
The first ever Bull and Fox remote was at Around the Corner.
Right,
it was nuts that night. I'll never forget it.
Really?
Yeah.
It was nuts. We had been on the air 6 weeks or whatever, and we were going to our first remote broadcast. We had no idea if anybody was going to show up, and the place was packed to the rafters.
Wow.
Packed to the rafters.
For you or for the food?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the people.
beverage.
I'm taking
Clientele.
nickel beers. That's what they was doing at the time. No, but shout out to them. I don't even know people go over there.
That used to be the spot.
That used to be the
when
joint.
I was in my
Back in the
20s.
day,
That
right?
was the joint.
day.
Like,
Yeah, it was nuts that night. Anyway, a lot to get to. We'll get to the Browns a little later. Of course, a lot of trade rumors involving the Cavs. A lot of the free agents off the board at this point, but could the Cavs still be in the trade mix? That's coming up a little bit later. We begin with baseball, though, after we check in with Earl. Earl.
Good morning, Bull. Good morning, G. Good morning, Jason. As always, man, you all know I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't really sportsing like I want them to. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going wherever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets, and anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Bull, for the first time since the year 2000, the Cleveland Guardians have 2 starters for the American League All-Stars, those guys being Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan. So congratulations to them. What's your thoughts on that?
Very excited about it. As you said, first time since 2000, right? I think in 2000 they might have had 4 guys. If I remember correctly, it might have been Tommy, Manny, Kenny Lofton. Was Kenny Lofton in 2000? Or was he? I can't remember now.
Kenny
was
was
definitely
Alomar?
99. No. There was one year, it might not have been 2000, it might have been before that, where you had Kenny, Manny, Jim Thome, and Roberto Alomar were all starters for the All-Star game one year.
They had one year where they had an all-star at every position. Not necessarily for that year.
Not a starter, but
No, not like that year, but they had appeared in an all-star game.
Gotcha.
Think about that.
That's
The
crazy.
Cleveland Indians had an all-star at every position, and that was like 90. It was Will Cordero was here. It was like 99, I think, 98, something like that.
and wasn't Matt Williams here too?
For 1 year.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he was a one-year
let's-
stopover.
I mean, that was that
97.
generation of the Indians is the best, in my mind, it's the best baseball team I've ever seen that's not won a World Series.
No question.
I mean, it's hard to believe they didn't win one. I know I don't mean to make people feel bad, but
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so hard to believe.
as Bull would say, even our slappies were hitting 40. Brian Giles, Richie Sextons of the world.
Paul Kia Sorrento. There you go.
These guys is hitting 20 home runs.
Yeah. Everybody. I mean, those lineups were just crazy. Some of those years.
Yep.
We didn't even mention Albert Bell.
Yeah, right.
Eddie
right.
Murray. You know, I mean, it goes on and on. But right now, we talked the other day about it being a good time to be a Cleveland sports fan because if the Guardians make the playoffs, we talked about this, by the way. I don't know. I mentioned this on my podcast the other day. So for those who maybe didn't hear it, we were discussing the other day on Wednesday whether this would be the first time all 3 teams went to the playoffs in the same year. And it actually would be the second time.
Well, what year?
1995, because remember, the Browns made the playoffs in the 94 season. They made the playoffs. It's the 95, but they played the games in 95.
Okay.
And the Cavs made it that year, and that was, of course, the first year of the Indians making the playoffs was 95.
See, that's what's hard about this because
for the football, does it count as the year?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. You played one playoff game in January 95. That doesn't count.
So you're saying it should be the 95 season?
It should be the 95 season.
Yeah.
Should it not? But it's hard to.
It depends.
You almost have to do it 2 years in a row, and then you can say, okay,
Yes.
Well,
based on that, they've never done it, and they still wouldn't here because the Browns would have to make it this next season.
Right.
But, it is still a really good stretch because it's the first time, really ever, that all three teams are good and have a promising future. In the mid-'90s, the Browns were about to be out of town.
Right.
So, obviously, there was no bright future there. The Indians were just starting to become obviously 94 they were really good too, and then the strike. But
could you talk yourself into all three teams have a chance to win a championship right
yes, we talked about this a little on Wednesday. We'll get back to the Guardians specifically in a second, but I think we all agreed on Wednesday's panel that actually the Guardians have the best chance, followed by the Browns closely, and then a drop to the Cavs, but all three. Yes.
And then I even went a step further, and I said the Guardians are always in a perpetual sense of them being the best chances of winning just because of the Rangers and guys like that. When the Rangers and the Diamondbacks went, I said these guys can go every year. It just, and they don't even have great pitching, and they're 30 games over.
And that's why they've set up the organization this way. They don't hide that. They want to be competitive every single year and give themselves a chance every single year. There is no big tear down and rebuild with this team. They're constantly rebuilding while competing. They're flying the plane while they build it every single year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And really, since the mid-'90s, except for when LeBron's been here, they've almost always been the best of the three teams.
Yeah.
And the road for the Browns is just we talked about it. The Browns, because of the division they play in, they're going to get beat up a little bit. And to beat Kansas City, you're pretty much going to have home field. They won't have home field.
Right.
It's hard for anybody in the AFC North. So you're going to have to see yourself going to Kansas City and winning.
Kansas City is kind of now where New England was for all those years with Brady. They're one of, if not the best team every year. Their division's not as good.
Yeah.
And so while other teams have to battle, the AFC North teams are all really good. Who's good in the AFC West? I don't know if anybody's good besides them in the West. Everybody's assuming the Chargers are going to be good because of Harbaugh, but it might not happen this year. It might take a couple of years. The Raiders are mediocre, and the Broncos stink, I think. But so not only they are the best team, not only did they have a year last year where all year we thought they were beatable, and then they won in the end.
On the road, by the way.
Right, on the road. But they're in a situation with a bad division. So, even Buffalo. Buffalo's got the Jets are pretty good. The Dolphins are pretty good. The North is tough. The Texans, they play in an easier division, but Indianapolis is not bad, and neither is Jacksonville. Yeah. The West is the worst division. But anyway, let's get back to the Guardians here, guys.
Because they got more coming.
And they get 2 All-Star starters, which is quite a great accomplishment. I was saying this morning on the Guardian show. I think fans do a better job than they ever have voting for the All-Star game. And I think for years Jose Ramirez was underrated. I no longer think he's underrated. I think baseball fans know how good Jose Ramirez is.
We saw the list. He's in the top 7?
Right.
All the time.
I think he was overshadowed a little bit when Lindor was here.
I agree.
And
he wasn't a big prospect coming up, so he didn't get a lot of hype.
Right. And when Francisco left, I think the shine got a little brighter. When he took the contract he took, I think a lot of people took notice of that.
Yep.
And now he's established himself as a premier third baseman, as he should be.
Yeah. And Kwan Steven Kwan. I mean, how many people out of Cleveland had heard of this guy before this year? So for him to make it as a starter, to get voted in by fans across the country, is pretty amazing.
Do you think they... You can say election rigging going on.
Right.
Put a thumb on the scale for the guys who deserve it the most. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. Do you think baseball... how do we know? How do you know?
No, you don't know. And I wouldn't care, but
But I just wonder if they sort of massage some votes for guys, which is for guys who deserve it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that, because you're right, we used to get some nutty all-stars that had no business being in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the NBA is the worst. The NBA, like
I thought baseball was the worst back in the day.
Baseball used to be the worst.
Now in the NBA, you could just tell who's going to be an all-star. You just look, Steph Curry is the all-star. I don't care if he gets 19 points.
I never understood why fans voted for all of their players. I'm not voting for a player on my team if he doesn't deserve it.
Right.
The only time I would ever, when I vote, I vote once. I know some people, you can vote up to 10 times, but when I vote for All-Star Game, I vote for the guys who I think are the best players. I don't care if they're on my team. If it's a tiebreaker, if it's like neck and neck, okay, maybe I'll lean that way. But I don't know. Some people just vote. Like, are you voting for Brian Rocchio? Are you voting for Andres Jimenez?
I mean,
Bo Naylor? No thanks.
No.
Well, let me keep it real. You talk about the Guardians, man. What if I'm voting for an all-star for the Guardians and it's just in-house?
Yeah.
I don't know where they'd be without Lively. He has 8 wins now.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't lost at home in a minute. Like,
the fans don't get the vote for pitchers. Mm-hmm. That's always been the case for whatever reason.
That's weird, too.
Yeah. I don't know why they've done that forever. But
Well, I think part of it has to do with rotations and when your day falls and if it's worth, you know what I mean?
yeah, but you could still vote the guys in and then just replace them if they're not able
That's
to pitch
true.
on that day.
That's true.
But,
It is odd.
yeah. But it's always been the case.
well, do you think it's because it's kind of hard to tell who's good? Like you said, like ERA and wins, right? No one's looking at that anymore.
I think, I think it had something to do with that for years. They were like, the fans are idiots. Let's just let them vote on the hitters.
Right, like if you tell me wins don't count no more, and then ERA don't count, I'm like, well, what the heck are we looking at?
Yeah,
then?
I mean, I don't. Well, ERA.
I still look
counts.
at ERA.
I look at ERA. I don't look at wins. When broadcasters mention wins, I'm always if it's a number that's unusually high or low, I'm always surprised because I never pay attention to it. The only reason I pay any attention at all is because it's a fantasy baseball category. Right. Only because there's just nothing better to replace it with, even though it's a terrible statistic. But well-deserved for Kwan. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Jose Ramirez. We know Josh Naylor's going to make it. You can make an argument that Josh should have been a starter too. Mm-hmm. We know that Emmanuel Clase is going to make it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The question is, will Ben Lively make it? I doubt it.
Unfortunately.
I still think David Fry's got a shot. In fact, Zach was telling me this morning he was reading an article by somebody, I think it was Tyler Kepner, who's an MLB writer, and he predicted that David Fry would get into the All-Star game. I mean, obviously his numbers have dropped significantly.
Yeah.
The batting average down to 300, the OPS still at 914. But those are still pretty big numbers.
Yeah.
And I still think he might grab the third catcher spot.
He's a borderline guy. I don't think you can protest too much if he
No.
doesn't make it.
No. Not at all.
But certainly, you got 4 for sure.
Yeah,
and
without
that
a
may
doubt.
hurt his case as well.
That's true. But the Guardians have the best record in the American League, so
and
they
they're
deserve to
deserving.
have it.
Yeah.
You know, and the Yankees going to have a lot of players, and the Dodgers.
the
And
Yankees is playing terrible right now.
They
They
have
are.
been playing terrible.
They're
I
a
love
mess.
it. I love it. I thought they would not be good this year. I was ready to eat crow about it. Now all of a sudden they're playing terribly, which I love. Go ahead, Earl.
So I read this on The Athletic. Despite finishing top 10 in MVP voting each of the past 4 seasons, Jose Ramirez has not started an All-Star game since 2018. Wow.
Yeah. That is surprising. I didn't realize it had been that long since he started the All-Star game. Yeah, I mean, just the fans are getting better. I mean, he's had a particularly great first half.
Yes.
But still, it's not like he's had.
I mean, he had a monster first half a couple years ago.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I'm trying to think what great third baseman would. I mean, Machado for a few years.
Yeah,
was in the
I don't
American League.
remember who's beating them out for these spots, but you know, the key thing is making it. You want to make it, but it is a cool honor to
Super.
make the All-Star, to be a starter. I was saying to Zach this morning, I said, you know how the players line up, you know, on the foul lines for the All-Star announcements? Wouldn't it be funny if Steven Kwan was leading off, Aaron Judge was hitting second, and Jose Ramirez was hitting third? Tiny, gigantic, tiny.
That's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Is Altuve a starter too?
I didn't look at the whole list. Actually.
can't remember.
I didn't see the whole list.
Earl, if you could check
I got
that
the
out.
list in front of me.
Yeah.
So the American League starters is Adley Rutschman, the
Yep.
catcher from the Orioles.
Yep.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. at first base.
Yep.
Jose Altuve at second.
Yep.
Jose at third. Gunnar Henderson, my boy, at shortstop. Aaron Judge from the Yankees in the outfield. Soto, Steven Kwan. And then is it Yordan Alvarez from the Houston Astros?
Yordan Alvarez. Yeah. So you have 2 Astros. You have 2 Yankees.
Altuve will probably lead off just because he's the veteran. I would
Yeah.
think.
Well, you could still. You have all these little guys in there. And
Altuve's
he's tiny also.
Size of Kwan.
That is funny. Yeah. Gunnar Henderson's a bigger dude. Adley Rutschman, man, those two guys are fantastic.
Yeah. Orioles are locked and loaded.
And that Jordan Westburg will probably make the team too. I mean, he's had a great year also.
The Orioles look like creative players, all of them. Like they just look like, yeah, these are what baseball players look like.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I came from Cal State Fullerton.
Yep.
My buddy's from over there's from Florida.
Yeah.
And my other buddy's a pitcher for Wichita State.
Did you see this clip? I don't know if it's really going around. Gunnar Henderson's swing in high school. Because there's a question of, like, why did he fall to the second round?
Right.
If you see the swing, you'll understand
it was terrible.
why.
Really?
He looked like a 10-year-old. It was awful.
It was so bad.
It was not at all connected. It was just, it was like, I'll find it and show it to you.
Wow.
I mean, he looked like he was going to hurt himself.
That's so strange.
Yeah. I mean, it was just one swing.
Yeah.
But it was like, if you wondered why Gunnar Henderson went in the second round. Here's why.
I mean, he's even got a good baseball name.
Yeah.
I was going. This is weird. I would wait till I was going to see this dude, Jason. Why? We killed them for not bringing up these guys for years. Is it me or it just seems like they just giving everybody some minutes?
I asked Zach this, and I didn't write about it, but I wonder if they are. Zach doesn't think that of course, Zach Meisel, who I work at the Athletic, who pulled this show with, Zach doesn't think that they showcase players the way they used to for trades. I think that's what they're doing. I think that they are. Everybody's getting a turn.
Everybody.
And I wonder, and there's a greater plan at play here, and I'm not entirely sure yet what it is, but it feels like they're showing other teams. Here's Angel Martinez. Here's John Kenzie Noel. Which one would you like?
Yeah.
Before
Jose Tena.
It was almost like y'all had to have a panel of baseball writers to bring the names up.
But also, they weren't ready, G. This is,
this wild.
They're ready now.
It's going to be interesting to see when it comes to this trade deadline how much money they're willing to spend in terms of, are you willing to go after, because, for example, this morning, Zach and I were talking about Chris Bassett from the Blue Jays and Jameson Taillon from the Cubs. Jameson Taillon's on $18 million a year for the next 2 years after this year. Not unreasonable. He's been a fantastic pitcher this year. Dominated the Phillies yesterday, one of the best lineups in baseball, although we got some guys hurt. And obviously Bassett's just been he's from Ohio, good solid pitcher for a long time, older guy. But he's got 1 year left at like 20-something million, 22, 24, something like that. Now, how much are they willing? And are they willing? I wouldn't do this if I were them. I'd rather spend the money. But will the Guardians, in fact, give even more away in prospects to have these teams eat some of the money that they might want to get? But ultimately, they have to make some deals.
Well, I saw
they need a pitcher and they need a hitter. They're going to have to do that.
I need to poke around on this a little bit more, but I saw Chris Antonetti on with John Heyman on a podcast. Did you see that?
Yes.
It did not look promising in terms of the Guardians pursuing pitching. Like, I think Matthew Boyd was their big move.
Better not be.
I think it was. If you read into what he was saying.
I hear you. I'm just hoping that he's playing coy at this point. If they don't get a starting pitcher, that's a disaster. They're not going to be able to win as is, I don't think, in the playoffs with this starting rotation. I shouldn't say they're not going to be able to win. It's going to be so hard.
And Matthew Boyd was never very good.
No, he's not any good.
Like, he's an
Tommy John surgery.
He's an innings eater in his, whatever.
He can't even pitch till August.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
And he's not really. I don't think he'd be a viable post. I mean, I guess you're looking at this as Bybee, Williams, and Lively.
And listen. Let's talk about Gavin Williams here for a minute.
Before we do that,
go ahead.
Before we do that, don't forget to catch the latest installment of the Ultimate Guardian Show with Adam the Bull, Zach Meisel. It's up on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel right now. They have some fire content coming at you today. They are also starting, 2 episodes a week now?
Yeah, we're doing 2 episodes a week, Monday and Friday at 9:30.
So subscribe to get notifications on the Ultimate Guardian Show. Bull, before we move on to last night's game, you wanted to touch on Gavin Williams. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Gavin Williams, of course, pitched Wednesday, and we weren't here yesterday due to the 4th. And the positive was the velocity was where you wanted it to be. He threw 97, he threw 98 in the first inning. Mm-hmm. So the velocity's fine. He did not throw a lot of his pitches. I think almost everything he threw was a fastball or a cutter. He did really not want to throw anything else. He obviously maybe that was the plan. I don't know. It would be a weird plan for a regular season game. but he certainly didn't have any confidence. And when the other team, I don't care what the lineup is, and I know the White Sox are bad, if you know a guy is only throwing fastballs and cutters,
you get tee off on him.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, and he didn't have good command of the fastball. It's the first start. I don't want to get carried away at all.
Yeah,
but it was not good. I was a little surprised he left him in that long because he was getting smoked in that 4th inning, Jason.
It was good to see him back on the mound.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That's all I take
Been a while,
from that.
yeah.
Now let's see what starts 2, 3, and 4 look like in terms of pitch mix and location and command and all that. I'm not gonna fret over one start. I'm just glad that he's back because he's obviously they're counting on him, especially if they don't make a move at the end of the month. Yeah, they're counting on him to fill a big role on this team.
I think somebody asked him about him. He said, "I ain't seen him play. I ain't seen Gavin Williams." So, is it a little? I wouldn't think it. I'm not alarmed or anything, but it always sticks in the back of my mind when you see people that don't want to throw their breaking pitch. It's like, okay, there's two things. Are you worried about command, or does it not feel comfortable to throw that breaking pitch? Now, for me, I like the velocity there, so that can debunk some of the stuff with the breaking pitches, right? He's just throwing the ball hard. He was throwing it hard and straight, and they was hitting it very hard. But I could see the Guardian saying this. If Gavin Williams looks good and Lively continues to pitch like he is, they're going to take that as, we playing with house money. They're going to take the fact that Lively, they're going to start counting on, okay, the glass slipper is not falling off. Maybe he's going to have one of those years.
I mean, that's going to be the argument if they don't make a trade for a pitcher, and that would be so stupid, and it would signal once again that the owner is not committed to winning. If they don't spend money, because there's no reason not to trade for a pitcher except for money. Why else would you not trade for a pitcher?
Well, prospect value, what it's going to cost you.
Well,
if they deem that to be too high.
They've been sitting on all these prospects for years.
I agree.
And none of them have the same value because none of them have done anything.
It's kind of hard. You want to see the Guardians continue to, jump out to this lead, but if they start running away with it and they 20 games, they're up, double-digit games on the Twins or the Royals, they're going to start to believe hey, proof's in the pudding. These guys, especially if they think about it, if they have the best record in the American League, they're going to say, why would we move anything?
Yeah, that would be a huge. They know why, and that would be a huge mistake.
They know why.
Because when you're in the playoff playing only the best teams, things get tougher.
It comes out in the
range. You got to have guys that can pitch innings in the playoffs. Gavin Williams, bad first start. He'll make two more starts before the All-Star break. He'll pitch early next week in Detroit, and then he'll pitch next weekend in Tampa Bay. And that's it. So the Guardians have 3 series left before the All-Star break. Giants at home, at the Tigers. I think that's a 4-game series. And then at Tampa Bay next weekend. So you got, I think, 10 games before the All-Star break.
I know we're moving on, so let's save this for another segment later on. But the window is now.
Now, absolutely, 100%.
I mean, I could create a case where you have to trade Josh Naylor after this offseason, or this coming winter, because he's got 1 year control left.
Yeah.
And you're not going to lose him for nothing. And the window to sign him is probably already closed. Steven Kwan under his arbitration eligibility starting next year. You're down to 3 years of control left over him.
Right. Now. It's got to be now. You can't sit on your hands.
And you owe it to Jose.
Right.
He gave the money back
enough.
Yeah.
He gave the money back.
Jose left all that money on the table because he's comfortable here. Don't you owe it to him?
100%.
To push all in?
And they've always talked about attendance. Well, attendance is there.
I think it comes down to prospect capital and what you're willing. And I got it. I understood it in the past because Bybee, Espino, and Williams were so highly regarded and everybody was asking for them. But we're talking about hitters now. The hitters are their top prospects.
Yeah, Let's go. I don't care. Trade them all. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
That's what they did in the 90s. In the 90s, they traded everybody.
That's what they should do.
Richie Sexton, gone. Brian Giles, gone.
There is
Sean Casey, gone.
There is nobody in their minor league system right now that is off the table. That should be, in my opinion. Agree. Not a single guy.
Especially when you have the number 1 pick coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade that guy, but...
No, but I'm saying, whatever you move now, you can replenish.
I don't want to hear about any of this. I'd trade Kyle Manzardo in the right deal. I don't care. Whatever it takes. Listen, I'm not going to trade Kyle Manzardo for a 2-month rental. I understand that.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys I would. But if I could get the right blockbuster trade for a starting pitcher that I have control of or a hitter I have control of, I'll trade Kyle Manzardo. I don't care. I want proven talent. Let's go.
You know what's interesting? And sorry, we're turning this into a segment.
All right.
But if you look at like the Rays and the Guardians are very similar, right? In terms of market, payroll, farm system. The Rays have a terrific farm system too. They traded Kyle Manzardo for Aaron Savali when they knew that trade was going to come back to bite them. They knew
that was crazy.
And they did it anyway because they were in it last year and they were going for it.
Exactly.
And they just traded Savali for nothing, like for very little. So, you know, if Manzardo turns into anything at all, the Guardians will win that one.
Yeah.
But the Rays knew, this one's going to hurt, but we have to do it to give ourselves a chance. And I just feel like that's the situation.
This is where they are right now. They've got to do it. And because, again, as I've been saying all year, there's really nobody that's that good. The Yankees have come back to earth in a big-time way. I like the Orioles, but they got a lot of question marks in their pitching. And their bullpen's a big question mark. I don't love their bullpen. You trust Craig Kimbrell right now to close? I don't.
No. And the Guardians' bullpen is lights out. If you get to the sixth inning, it's a wrap.
Yeah, but you can't, it's not going to stay that way if they get overworked all season long. Well, they've gotten a break here lately because there's actually been a bunch of games that have been one-sided one way or the other. All right, Earl, we move into – go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the last night's game after a quick word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to the peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors have you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. The Guardians got back on track yesterday, took the series 2 games out of 3 against the Chicago White Sox with an 8-4 win. Steven Kwan got back on track. He hit 3 out of 4, including a home run. So shout out to Kwan. What did you guys think about the game yesterday?
And they need to get back on track because the Twins have been playing much better lately.
Yeah.
Twins are within 6 games of the Guardians right now.
They've struggled with the bad teams. It's weird.
Yeah.
The Guardians have.
They have played much worse. They won 2 out of 3, but it was a weird series.
Yes.
Man, I was.
They don't look crisp right now.
I was watching the game. I mean, who's this Sosa cat? He's
been on fire.
He's destroying us. I mean, the whole series he was balling out.
Yeah.
You know what? It kind of, they won that game 8-4, but it kind of didn't look. I don't know if you could say it didn't look like an 8-4 win. Like it didn't. Like they went away a little bit, but. Yeah, listen, they won the series kind of nasty. And what I took away from it was all the new cats. You got a Martinez, you got Noel is out there. I thought Kwan, we said before the show, silently he's up for. He looked like he's about to hit 20 home runs this year. So if you can still get that type of, that type of production, it just seems like the Guardians continue to have new guys up. Like Steeman, and they come in and hit and do pretty well. Like so, it's just it's a fun little team to watch. It's a fun little team to watch.
Yeah, I mean they hit in this series, but it's just, I don't know, just something feels off about the team all of a sudden right now. We'll see if they can.
It's a long year.
Get back on track here in these next 10 days, and they continue to play teams that aren't particularly good. Giants are not very good. Giants and Rays are kind of borderline contention, even though the Rays traded Savali, so it seems like they're giving up. Detroit's obviously completely fallen apart after a good start to the season. So they do have, in a way, you say, well, they have a chance to pile up more wins these next 10 games. But as you said, they played better against better teams. Minnesota's playing better. I don't think they're going to totally go away. Kansas City, after that slump, has kind of righted the ship. The division's way better than it's been in the past. Even Detroit is competitive in that 4th spot. I thought Ben Lively pitched a decent game, and he's done a great job. I know we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop because it doesn't make any sense how well he's pitched. It's like he can't keep this up, right? But part of the argument the Guardians are going to make publicly if they don't trade for a pitcher and guys like me are pissed off, is they're going to be like, well, we got Ben Lively. What do you want to take him out of the rotation, do you? And I don't. I want Ben Lively to be in the rotation. He's earned a spot in the rotation for the rest of the season. But there's other spots.
Yeah.
And by the way, kudos to Carlos Carrasco. 3 pretty solid starts in a row.
Yeah.
But, right now, I don't want Logan Allen in the rotation. I want to replace him. And,
Lively was upset yesterday. He left the one pitch up for the 2-run homer. He should have been out of that 6 innings, 1 run.
Yeah.
And you could see him coming off the mound how upset he was that he left the one pitch up, and it cost him.
And when you only he don't throw nothing over 90, 91. So you leave anything up, you got a problem.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be pinpoint with his command. And for the most part, he has been. You're going to make some mistakes sometimes, and he did there. He went from having a great start to a solid start.
Who do you trust more in the playoffs, Gavin Williams or Ben Lively, right now today?
Right now, I have to trust Ben
Lively.
Lively.
Isn't that crazy?
Lively.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I would think in a month I'll trust
Say
Gavin Williams more, but
I know why you got a little hangover. I think the Tristan McKenzie going down to AAA is a little bit of a downer.
That's a blow.
It's like you was counting on him putting it back together.
right.
And like I just don't want to, and I don't want to speculate, but it's just always this thing in the back of your head, like, is he 100% healthy?
Well, the sliding doors effect of this, and maybe Tristan figures this out, maybe comes back up and he's an effective major leaguer, but certainly at this point it's fair to have the conversation, should he had the surgery. Well, if he has the surgery, you probably don't move on from Cal Quantrill. So there's another healthy option you have in your rotation today, but you think you can count on McKenzie, you think you have Bieber, and now this whole thing unravels on you, and Cal Quantrill's in Colorado. It's just,
and he's pitching well in Colorado.
Yeah, it's just one little thing I was thinking about that, if Tristan would have elected to have the surgery last year, they probably aren't moving on from Cal Quantrill.
Yeah. Now, Cal Quantrill's pitching his best baseball, which is weird because usually guys pitch their best baseball for the Guardians, go somewhere else and don't pitch well.
I mean, he pitched well 2 years ago for these guys.
Yeah, he pitched solidly. Last year he was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't as good last year.
Yeah, and this year he's pitched really well for Colorado. Now he's had more starts on the road than at home, which helps. But still, pitching in that ballpark and pitching as well as he has been pretty good. I don't know if they try to go down the road to get him back or Kyle Freeland. I don't know, but good win. Let's see what they do against the Giants, and the Giants could be a team that if they win this series, maybe the Giants decide to sell and the Giants have. Somebody asked me about Logan Webb. I can't imagine the Giants are going to trade Logan Webb.
Probably not.
If I was the Guardians and I could get Logan Webb, I'd give up nearly anything to get him. I mean, he's great pitcher. They have a couple of and by the way, I know the bullpen's a strength. I would add to it too.
Absolutely.
Add to that. The Rogers brothers, Tyler and Taylor, are the Giants' 2 of their best relievers. They could be interesting guys. Mark Leiter Jr., Tanner Scott's been mentioned from the Marlins.
Mark Leiter Jr.?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting old. Like when you start to recognize your pop's names, I'm like, that's rough.
Looks like the Mets are buying now. They're back.
Which they should. They've been playing great baseball.
I know. I wanted Severino, but it looks like that's not
I
happening.
think he's out of the mix. I think Tyone, if they're willing to spend the money, because since the All-Star break of last year, he's been excellent. It's been about a calendar year now. He's making, like I said, $18 million this year, next year, and the year after. So you probably think the Cubs would have to cover some of that.
Yep.
But if the Cubs cover $8 million a year for the next 2 years, and the Guardians have to give up a better prospect because of that,
so be it.
So be it. Maybe they do it. I think he'd be a perfect, if Gavin Williams is right to have, Bybee, Williams, and then Tyone as your 3, and then Lively maybe as your 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he's talking with a good bullpen. Because Tyone, if nothing else, can give you innings. I mean, I bet you he's averaging over 6 innings a start for the Cubs this year, which in this day and age is a lot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do more on the Guardians when we go to WKYC at 12:30. We'll preview more of that series with the Giants coming up this weekend. Earl, what do you got for us?
All right, let's move on. But before we move on, I got to let you all know that I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost and or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So, fellas, a couple of days ago, I'm sitting at home, my phone goes off, and I get one of those good old Bleacher Report alerts. And this alert was a proposed trade that they put together that sent Darius Garland to the L.A. Lakers. Give me 1 second to find a graphic so we can show you the details of the trade. But essentially, Darius Garland and Karis LeVert ends up in L.A., and here it is. The Cavs gets Cam Johnson, Austin Reeves, and Rui. Jason, you like this?
I actually think the Lakers probably say no to that. Just because of the money that Darius is making. He just doesn't have a ton of trade value right now. I mean, they got Hachimura for nothing. I was surprised how little the Lakers gave up. They gave up like a second to get him. I like Austin Reeves. I wanted Austin Reeves last year. It just wasn't realistic with the money that he's making. It's really hard to get in the mind of executives and who likes what they're looking for, because things that look good on paper that make sense, there's reasons why they don't like it or don't do it. We can come up with 100 different trade scenarios of things that you like, and for whatever reason the teams don't align and don't agree. It's not a bad return from the Cavs perspective, certainly. I think it addresses a couple needs and gets them a little bit more size and some shooting, but I don't know that LA would do that.
Yeah,
what was the Brooklyn return on that?
You put that graphic up again.
They get
D'Angelo Russell
goes back.
Schifino, whoever that is.
So LA's given up a number one and Reeves and Hachimura for Garland.
Yeah.
And LeVert. I mean, LeVert's got money left on his deal, but I don't know.
I mean, for what they want, like, I know this ain't disrespectful, but for what they got D'Angelo Russell. I mean, are they going to view Darius Garland as
that much of an
upgrade? I think he's better.
He is.
I think he's better.
But coming off the year that Darius is coming off, it's hard. It's hard to get value. Now, he's a clutch client. If LeBron tells the Lakers, give me, which I don't know that he would ever do that, but they're doing whatever he wants.
Hey, that man, he got the hammer.
His son a guaranteed contract.
He got guaranteed. Like, he ain't even a two-way guy. Like, that's wild. Like, he got the hammer. He got JJ Redick off a podcast. My son getting drafted, and it's a guaranteed deal. Like, this dude getting whatever right now. Yeah. Like, I would take it. I mean, for me, it's kind of hard, man, because I'm under the firm belief. This is just now. Jason is on here. I literally think they running this back. The run it back core four, I feel like they've put some offers out. They ain't seen what they like, and they are fully prepared to be like, hey, this is what we got. Because I don't think they got enough money to do anything else. Free agent wise is down to a trade.
Well, the smoke around Darius, there's like, I haven't heard anything. Like, they told teams called on him after our report came out. Teams called on him. They told him we're not trading him, and it all sort of dissipated. Now, again, there was no actionable movement until Donovan signed.
Right.
Well, that just happened.
Yep.
So now we'll see. And like, Cavs are in a tough spot because I totally get why they don't want it. You don't want to trade Darius at the bottom of the value.
Yeah.
So if you can work this out with his representation and like Donovan wants Darius back and Darius wants Donovan back and you can work it out, then I can see a path to running it back. But I'm not ready to sit here today and say they are for sure running this back with all four. There's too much out there still, and there's too much that has to be decided still. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to play next year in Miami. I think when Pat Riley stood up there and said, if you're not on the court, keep your mouth shut, that to me that's Jimmy Butler's last day in Miami.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's still, and nobody's, that's just me. Like, that was my first thought when I saw him sit at the podium and say that. And so I just think that there's still movement in the league that hasn't occurred yet that could still happen. So I'm not ready to, I could see where they run it all back, but I can't sit here today and say that that's for sure going to happen.
Well, I threw it by you. There's a report, Mark Stein says that, the Hornets are looking to do a trade with Miles Bridges. Now, Miles, now my boy Miles come with
a lot of baggage.
It's a lot of work.
He's a hell of a player.
Look, and they're talking about for Isaac Okoro and some other things beside the core four. Theoretically, how would Miles Bridges fit if they didn't give up any of the core four?
On the court, he fits well. He fits really well on the court. It's the other stuff that you got a lot to work through. And you know, when we went through this with Kareem Hunt and then we went through it with Deshaun, my stance was always, if you want to be angry at the league, because once the league says these guys are eligible to play, you have to operate within those parameters. But I mean, there's a lot with Miles. There was the convict. He was convicted.
He was no contest,
domestic assault.
Yeah,
and then there was a second incident. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot there.
And I've referenced this, and I'll reference it again. I had a change in heart on these situations 3-4 years ago, even before the Deshaun Watson trade. I used to be very much, whenever the team was acquiring a person of bad character, I was against it. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like I need to separate. There's too many. Where do you draw the line, right? Like, obviously, if there's a line, Miles Bridges is past the line.
Yes.
You know, if anybody is. However, in the end, I'm not hiring him, but these guys are being brought in to play basketball, not to babysit my kids, So Miles Bridges is a scumbag. I mean, let's face it, he's a scumbag. But he's a basketball player. He's eligible to play. And as much as I detest him as a human being, based on what he's done, I'm not going to be phony. If the Cavs get him, I think it's a good move from a basketball standpoint. And I'm not going to stop rooting for the team because of it, so I'm okay with it.
I wish that the league would sort of look at this like it is a privilege to play in our league, and not everyone is qualified to do so. Mm-hmm. If you want to be an attorney, you have to pass the bar. You have to be licensed to be an attorney. If you want to be a doctor, you have to get your license. You have to earn your medical license. Not just anyone. And you can lose your license if you misbehave. Mm-hmm. If the leagues would look at it that way of, you know what, you've got 2 strikes, they're really ugly and nasty, you are no longer welcome in our league. Then that takes the problem. It's almost like you're passing this down to the state level, and you're telling teams to decide for yourself.
Right.
And now you're looking at this and going, well, if we don't pursue this guy, someone else is going to, and they're going to use him to beat us. But if the league would handle it and say, you are not eligible to play in this league, that alleviates the problem. But the league doesn't have the guts to do that.
No.
The league passes it down to the team.
In the NFL, listen, you say what you want.
You can say what you want about a right to work.
Yeah.
We're not taking away your right to work. You can go get a job somewhere else. You're not qualified and fit to work in our prestigious. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, there are plenty of lawyers and doctors who are probably hitting women and doing horrible stuff.
Probably.
And they don't necessarily lose their license.
But I'm saying there is a way that you can lose your license.
Yeah, there is. And malpractice, whatever. Yes, the league could do that. Maybe they should do that. The bottom line is they don't.
Yeah.
And I am not going to blame a team.
That's where I am.
For trying to get better.
Once the league says this man is eligible to play in our association, what are you supposed to do?
Which tells you what teams think of Trevor Bauer in baseball, that nobody would, because the guy still can pitch.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody has signed him.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, like this,
Before you complete that point, I just kind of wanted to go off of what Jason said. This is not a team sport, but you can look at the recent situation with the boxer Ryan Garcia and see how swiftly the WBC made a decision on him going forward.
What happened? I don't know anything about that.
If people don't know what's going on, he was expelled by the WBC because he was on a live stream using racial slurs, amongst other things.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
And so, like, when we talk about moral code and things like that, the needle was always moved based on, how popular the athlete is, how much money do these guys generate, et cetera, et cetera. So to Jason's point, until every said league starts making a stance on said player, it's hard to really get into the minutia of why this guy gets a chance, this guy doesn't get a chance, etc.
And it would wind up in court. If the league said, you are not welcome here, that 100% would wind up in court.
Like, I mean, trust me, the Deshaun Watson, I mean, they had whole judges in here. Like, that's, you know, from a perspective of the Cavs, I throw this out to y'all, like, how desperate is Kobe? Because I don't know what his standing is with Dan Gilbert, right? Dan is more active today than he was before. I would be a little alarmed by that if I was Kobe Altman. I don't know that means you got to reach a certain threshold or you're going to get fired. But my thought process would be, how patient is Dan, and what is his expectation level for this upcoming season?
I don't know. Dan is much more patient than he used to be, or else everybody would have been fired 3 times by now. So he's much more patient.
Okay,
that's just. But I don't know that we know the answer, because this is really his first go around where he's back being an active voice. We know he's not the same Dan. He'll never be the same Dan again. That guy is gone. But so I can't tell you what his threshold is and what his patience level is, because we don't know, because he's just coming back. Like, so there is no answer to that, as far as I know.
The Bridges move, like if because like you said, no coach has ever been kept because his roster doesn't have a rap sheet or they were good citizens.
Right.
It's about these wins and losses, and you just signed Donovan Mitchell up again. Now, I believe it's basically a 2-year deal, right?
2 plus the 1 he was already under contract for. So
I mean, Miles Bridges is a chance to get the best player you can get at the lowest cost.
At the lowest price.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you think they would go there?
His name has been tied to them for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Like, there's been too much smoke around. And full disclosure, I have not talked to anyone over there about him. So I don't know. Like, I haven't talked. It hasn't come up with me.
Yeah.
But there's been enough smoke around that name with them that makes you think that they've certainly at least kicked the tires, sort of like for what you said, that he's a good player. And obviously, it's Kareem Hunt coming off Kansas City where the value is low, and it's not going to cost you a whole lot.
Right.
So, again, I don't love it. Like, it makes me kind of gross.
And I'm in full disclosure, I don't really care. Like, you could play whatever the case may be. Everybody got some skeletons in their closet. But even some of the stuff I mean, he said he did this.
Concussion, nasal fracture.
Yeah, he fractured like some of the in front of his kids. Like, that's a different type of, and it's hard to swallow that looking at that, because you just think
you just got to separate the player.
And then it happened again.
Right.
And then there was a second incident where he was allegedly, I don't know where that stands, I better use the word allegedly, throwing billiard balls at her car.
Yes, that was
so, like, it's not just a one-off.
No, he's a bad guy.
There was a second incident, and so, but I have to go back to where I stood with Kareem and Deshaun and with all these guys. Once the league says they're good, what are you supposed to do as a team? Someone's going to employ him.
And if they sign him, what's going to happen? So there'll be some maybe backlash initially. Nothing will happen. Nobody's canceling
you worry about the locker room. And I remember having this conversation when the Cavs traded for JR, and that turned out to be much better than anyone could have imagined.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone at the Cavs when they traded for JR, and they said, you know what? You can have one shithead in the locker room. You can't have 2. Mm-hmm. But if you have one shithead and you have the right people around him, you can make it work. Now, LeBron told Griff, I got him. I'll bring him here. I want him. I got him.
Yeah.
And people who knew JR well told me, like, because Carmelo wasn't really thumb over the guy, like, in terms of a good leader in New York, and that's why JR got a little bit out of hand sometimes. But LeBron was very much, had a thumb on him and kept him. You know, he behaved. JR behaved when he was here. And I don't know. I'm not saying he can't. I don't know that Donovan is that guy.
Right.
I just don't know.
Because they don't have any other shitheads.
No.
Well, let me throw it to you. It's like this. If Donovan tells them he wants them,
that's going to carry weight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jason, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Not to cut you all off, but we remember when Kevin Porter was here.
Yeah.
How is the Cavs infrastructure healthy and built strong enough to be able to acquire Bridges and everything be okay? I know you spoke to it from like a player standpoint, but just organizationally, how much has this franchise grown since then to be able to take on a guy like this on the scene?
Yeah, it's a fair question. They tried really hard with Kevin, and I never knocked him for Kevin. I think that there was relationships that they had mismanaged over the years, but I can't put that one in that category because you knew that there was problems. It's the reason he fell to the last pick in the first round, and they tried with him, and they tried to put structure around him, and ultimately just got to the point that they had to cut their losses with him. There are some teams that are better built for that than others. I don't know that I would put the Cavs in that group of, the Heat or Oklahoma City or San Antonio, where you would say, yeah, that guy will thrive in that.
But is it different? I mean, does this guy have problem? Like, we know he's a bad guy off the court, but in the Porter case, it was a problem like with the team, wasn't it?
No, he's a good player. Like the problem, and again, I go back to JR. When I was having a conversation with somebody with the Cavs, and they made the trade, they shipped Dion out and they brought JR in. And the way it was explained to me was Dion was effing us up on the court.
Okay.
If JR screws up, it'll be off the court. Mm-hmm. But JR fits us well on the court.
Yeah.
Dion was not fitting us well on the court. And listen, that's just the dirty reality of the better you are, the more tolerance teams are going to have for you.
And I thought it helped that they brought Shump in too. Like it was like two of those guys.
Shump was supposed to be the piece,
right?
And JR was you have to take him to get Shump.
Yeah,
and JR wound up
turned out to be the dude.
JR was the piece they really needed, and Shump turned out to be the extra dude.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That is funny. All right, Earl, let's switch gears, talk some football.
Let's do it. I don't know what happened to the mic, but. This next segment is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kicks, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed to Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. So we got about 19 days before the entire team is together for Cleveland Browns training camp, and we haven't really touched much on the Browns lately. That says it's been a lot going on in the city of Cleveland. But I was curious as I was putting the show together today, for each of you, what player do you believe heading into camp is going to take the biggest leap forward, and what player can you possibly look at and say, this guy might regress a little bit?
All right, let's start with going forward. Jason, G, why don't you start us off? Player you're looking for a leap from this year?
I think it has to be this was kind of tough for me.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of guys that's going to take another leap. And he played well last year. I think this year, JOK going to be a monster. Like I think JOK is going to be. He took a step. Bull is a guy that he needed to see it in a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? I thought he had a great year last year. I think this year, when they start talking about the Browns defense, they'll mention Myles Garrett as they should first. But the second player they will mention is JOK. I think the light bulb came on. I kind of compare it to, even when I was younger, I didn't play football till I was like 14 or 15. And so I didn't understand, like, to be a playmaker, sometimes you have to dumb it down a little bit. You start thinking a bunch. You're like, it's a new position. Okay, I gotta worry about where the tackle is doing. Okay, let me deliver hands here. Are they double teaming me? And then after you start playing and you get it, it slow down for you. Be like, oh, so I could just do this, or oh, this is what y'all trying to do to me. And it actually slows down. JOK, I think, when you watch it, they're going to start pointing it out like, we need one of those. They're going to start saying, we need one of these linebackers that's like used to be a safety. We used to be like, we could put it in a box, these hybrids. Before, hybrids never got drafted high because people didn't know what to do with them. People didn't know. Like now, it's perfectly good. When I was growing up, you had to engage with linemen, shed linemen, deliver hands and get rid of them. JOK, nowadays, they just say, oh, why would you let him touch you? Run around him. And he's going to run around a lot of people for a lot of tackles in the backfield. I think he's going to get even better than he was this year.
Jason, who's your guy?
Scares me to say this. I'm back in, baby. We're back in a relationship. Jed Wills, don't let me down.
Oh, my Lord.
Here's
That's
why.
Crazy.
Here's why.
All right, go ahead.
He's playing on his 5th-year option, and he's playing for his next contract. Yeah. I will take money as a motivation for anybody at any time. When you are staring at the type of payroll that he could be getting as a left tackle, if he has one good year, need one good year out of you, and you're going to get paid. Give me Jed Wills Jr.
You know what? That's a good point because he can be. It's either boom or bust. He can have a great year and be one of the highest paid tackles, or he could be terrible.
Yeah,
and be looking for a backup role. It's a big year for him.
I defended that man all last summer.
You died on that man's hill.
I defended him to you guys. You just kept kicking him and kicking him and kicking him, and I kept picking him back up, and that man let me down for the first few weeks. And then he sort of turned it around a little bit.
I do think he's the key to the season. Because if you can have a good left tackle and Deshaun ain't got to move around, that'd be huge.
Give me Jed Wills coming out having a big year. He's going to be motivated. Yeah. He better be motivated. He's playing for his next contract. I will always take a guy playing on a contract here.
Unfortunately, nobody answered with the most important answer, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Because I don't feel that great.
Because if he doesn't progress, it's a problem. Another guy that you thought might have been there, Jerry Jeudy. None of us picked him.
Yeah, I thought about him.
My guy is Alex Wright.
So you didn't pick Deshaun either? Yeah, I thought you were picking Deshaun.
I thought you was coming with that.
No, my guy's Alex Wright. I really like what I saw from him at the end of last year. They've been trying to fill that second defensive end spot across from Myles Garrett forever, and all they've done is plug in one veteran after the next, after the next, after the next. And it's been a little up and down, that spot, over the years. They're looking for a guy who can really take command of that spot. And I think Alex Wright's got a ton of talent. And I thought he showed it at the end of last year. I thought when a lot of the other guys were going backwards at the end of the year, he was moving up.
He played well in that Chicago Bears game.
Yes, he did. And I think he could be a surprise double-digit sack guy this year.
Wow. I think he can start by the end of the year.
Yes, absolutely. I think he's got a chance to take hold of that other starting spot. So Alex Wright is my guy I'm looking to take a leap forward.
Who y'all think my guy is? Just curious.
MJ Emerson.
Nope. MJ He's all ready to go. But it's another DB. Honest to God, I think it's going to be Cam Mitchell. I think the corner we drafted out of Northwestern, who had a pretty solid rookie season, I think he's going to get more opportunities to show what he can do this year because, quite honestly, he has to. I think Andrew Berry has a decision to make when it comes to Greg Newsome in the long term. But I also believe that Cam Mitchell can be a quality slot corner for this team moving forward. I think he showed some flashes of a dude who can be a pretty solid NFL player. So for me, my player to take the biggest step forward is Cam Mitchell.
All right, good choices. But again, none of us picked Deshaun and none of us picked Jerry Jeudy.
Listen, it ain't even about hoping and wishing with Deshaun. You just at this point, it's like you got to just we trying to see.
She said it better be.
That got to be on deck. If Jerry Jeudy and Deshaun Watson, they ain't balling, we in trouble.
That's right. All right, let's go to the guy worried about a slide. I'll start here. My original answer was going to be JOK because I am worried about a little bit of a backslide with JOK. Sure. But then I thought about it more, and I came up with actually two other guys that I'm more worried about than JOK. One is DeJuan Jones. I'm worried about him.
He was on my list.
You worry. He has money now for the first time this offseason. He's coming off an injury. I'm a little he was a pleasant surprise last year. I'm worried if he takes a step back before maybe taking a step forward the following year. And another guy I'm concerned about, even though it's only supposed to be one, I'm now picking two. Dustin Hopkins. Dustin Hopkins came out of nowhere last year.
That's a really good one.
To be he was one of the best kickers in the league. Kickers are flaky. They could be good one year. Kickers are kind of like relief pitchers.
Yeah.
You only got one or two Mariano Rivera's and Trevor Hoffmans. Everybody else is kind of up and down all the time. So I feel like we're going into the season assuming kicker is solved. And I'm a little worried that it's not going to be.
Not to mention he has a history of injuries.
Yes, that's true.
Prior to last year, it's part of the reason the Chargers moved on from him.
Yep,
and it's valid. DeJuan Jones. I always have a problem with someone that is really that massive having any injuries.
Joints are always going to be a concern with him.
Yeah, it's like half of it is bend. He's already bigger. I just even Jack Conklin, he's linear. I don't like linemen being hurt, but it's part of the game, right? Part of the game.
Are you going with DeJuan?
No. This hurt my heart to say. Nick Chubb.
Oh well.
Now it's Nick Chubb, right? But I've grown accustomed to seeing Nick Chubb do Nick Chubb things.
Right.
One of my worst nightmares is like turning the tape on and he's just a back. You see what I'm saying? Like turn like what makes him great, like he can run away from you, he can run over you, he has great vision backside, he can put his foot in the ground, he can go lateral, he can do a lot of different things. And what if he comes back and it's just he don't got
just Jerome Ford?
Oh, well, that's even that's crazy. That's wild. Jerome Ford is below that. Like that's not Jag below like. But yeah, I mean, and how long do we wait on it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm tempering. I just don't like when people keep like saying Adrian Peterson. Like, Adrian Peterson ran for like 2,000 yards after an ACL. Like, that's just like a comet hitting earth. It don't happen all that often. Like, I just want to temper expectations.
That's fair. And I've mentioned Adrian Peterson, and to be fair, Nick Chubb's coming off multiple surgeries, not just an ACL.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I hope you're right in your breakout with Alex Wright, a guy who's going to emerge, because my step back is Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm surprised he's here still. I thought that they'd move on from him after last year.
The tape wasn't all that great last year.
And he's getting up there in age, and I hope Alex Wright is ready, because I'm not sure Zadarius Smith. I just don't have a lot of faith in him. He felt like a 1 year, you got what you needed out of him, get out before it hurts. And I'm not putting him in the Clowney situation.
Right, he's not a bad team.
Right.
Yeah.
But I felt like Jadeveon, I said it on the air, I think, like 1 year and go. Like cut you got one good year out of him. Take that and run. I kind of felt that way about Zadarius. Take your one good year, decent. I don't even know if it was good. Decent year. Take your one decent year and get out.
Hey, man, when somebody try to make themselves over, always watch out. He came back with the cut. I said, oh. He's like, I need to get a little sleeker.
Yeah. Remember when Clayton Tune was the quarterback for the Cardinals?
I do.
No, before I give mine, I kind of wanted to go back on what you all had to say. I think what Bull said about Hopkins is right. Like, this might sound crazy, but I think some things are psychological. K. York is back wearing number 36. What if he beats out Hopkins for the job? Like, would that be far-fetched?
That is kind of wild.
I don't know if it's far-fetched. I would be surprised if they cut Hopkins out of training camp, but you never know. I mean,
if K. York was a fourth round pick for a reason? Like, I mean, he got a skill set, right?
Kicker is outside of a couple of guys, kicker's a year-to-year thing.
Obviously, they feel very strongly about Cade York.
Yeah.
They drafted him. They wanted to bring him back after they signed Hopkins. He chose to leave. Now he's back again. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised. I wonder, he had to have other opportunities, you would think. I'm surprised he came back.
Yeah.
Like, this was the worst stretch of his career was here. Damn. I'm surprised he'd want to even come back and revisit it. I think, unless Hopkins is just an absolute disaster and
he's going to be
preseason,
the
he'll be the starter.
I mean, that's like crazy. That's like, in college, you just break up with your girlfriend at the bar because you saw this cute girl. And then you got the girl back. Like, I was just playing with you. I was just playing with her.
Earl,
I got two guys. This is going to be unpopular, but I think the two guys that can take the biggest step back this year are Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio. I think age Either or both, to be honest.
That'd be a major problem if that happens.
I think age plays a factor in that. I know they both dealt with some injuries at a certain point last season, but also you don't have the same voice in your ear that you've had for the last 3 or 4 years. And so depending on, what this new offensive line coach and what his philosophy is, if it goes against what these guys does well, it can hurt their performance. They are getting up there in age. Durability is a real thing. Injury is a real thing. So there's a strong possibility that two guys who have been nothing but staples and producers on our football team for the last 4 or 5 seasons, they can start to take a step back. Now, with that being said, their level of step back might not be the same level of everybody else's. That's how good they both are.
We'd be hurt. I'd be hurt. I can't. Not both of them. One of y'all gonna have to hold up. Like, nah.
I mean, it's not crazy to think they both take a step back. I'm not going to vote for it, but it's not crazy. I mean, especially Joel's pretty old at this point.
They've had a lot of injuries. Both of them
yeah.
have had to deal with a lot of injuries. Even last year, I think they were more hurt than anyone realizes.
In general, for me, there is a question mark about the Browns' pass protection.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet how big a loss that's going to be.
I mean, they didn't play all that. They didn't play all that much together. To be truthful, Jed was out, Dewan was out, Conklin was out early.
Yeah,
but Tonio and Pochich and Taylor, they were there. But I don't think pass protection is their strong suit. Like, they're not terrible at it, but Wyatt Teller is a better run blocker than pass blocker.
Yep.
I would say Batonio too. So for me, with a new passing attack that I think is going to throw the ball vertically, and Deshaun Watson scrambles around and he's off, I think off schedule. I don't know if I would say off schedule, but he does a lot of running around and improvising. I don't know how that's going to look pass protection wise.
Yeah, it's not crazy to think. Now, as you said, Earl, even those guys taking a little step back are still good players.
Right.
But you don't want to see, but what the loss of Bill Callahan, we don't know yet.
Correct.
And
that's why I was actually a little nervous to say Jed, because I thought the loss of Callahan.
Yeah.
But I just think money's the biggest motivator,
that is,
even over good coaching.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that I feel like Andrew Berry has at least attempted to get this team prepared for, either Batonio retiring or them moving on or Teller being, no longer a part of this team.
Well, they had to get younger.
Yeah.
They had to get younger at the guard spot, and they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. And so I think that even if they take a step back, I do believe that this is the last year that we see both of them on the team together.
Probably.
I think that is accurate, yes.
Like with Zach Zinter, I'm really, really interested, Jason, and Luke Whippler, because we do know that Andrew Berry loves guys on the offensive line who can play multiple positions. And he showed that when he got his, few spot starts.
I think Zinter's particularly they're excited about.
Yeah.
And that guy's a monster. And Earl, I think you're right. I think this is probably the last year with Wyatt and Joel together.
Which the question is, who's gone? Is it? Do you think Joel can retire after this year?
I mean, 1 year is a lifetime in the NFL. I think we have to get through this season and see what kind of condition they're both in.
You know what I've always thought about, and this is messed up to say. It's not really messed up, but we don't never think about it, this type of player of just being done. Like, I thought, Joe Thomas would play forever. I thought Joe had like 4 more years. Like, he felt like it was Thomas. But Myles Garrett just don't seem like the player that's going to be playing until he's 35 or 30, 33, 34. Like, I mean, he seems like he's like, I don't want to. I still want to be able to do some things. I do other things outside of football. He's such a freak of nature that I don't foresee him slowing down. But then again, I never foresaw guys like Calvin Johnson hang it up, and you'd be like, Barry Sanders just hang it up. And it's just like, I could see Myles Garrett shirtless at a podium being like, I just going to
see that too, Jason?
I don't know if he's going to play till he's 40.
Maybe he retires younger than you think?
He does have unique interests. He's a guy that I don't think he's you got to be careful when you say stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think he dislikes football.
No,
I just think he has other passions. Besides, like, football isn't his entire life. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys, football is their entire life. Right. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
I would agree. I don't put Myles in that category. I do think that he has other interests in life. He's got his money. He's got his Defensive Player of the Year award. I'm sure he wants to win. And we'll see. I can't sit here today and say he's going to retire early, but he's one of those guys that I believe isn't just consumed totally by football.
I'm with Jason. I think that when you look at Myles Garrett, and I'm just assuming right now, I think there's a lot of passion there. But I also think that that's an avenue for him to live out his purpose, if that makes any sense. And I think that's what Jason was essentially trying to say. Like, he has other things that he might want to get accomplished, things that might be more fun or more important than football. And football is the avenue that he took first to, achieve his overall goal in life.
I think he's one of the dudes that if he woke up one day and was like, this isn't fun anymore, I'm cool with it. I'm cool. So my thing is, hey, capitalize while he's still in his prime. So, time is a ticking.
That's right. All right, Earl, we got one more topic before we go over to WKYC
before we head over
in
to
about
Channel 3.
Yeah.
Before we get to that topic, I have to let you all know that my man G. Bush has a brand new episode of the Ultimate Brown Show coming to you today at 5 p.m. G, what can the fans be looking for?
Man, I got a show. I'm commenting on y'all's. Pete Prisco had a list. Y'all was out of pocket on this list. Bull was out of list. Out of pocket. He was out of pocket. Jason Lloyd was actually not even that grumpy. After he got through it, he don't like list. He's the Grinch of October.
That's dumb.
he don't like list.
But
he did give his opinion. So check that out, man. We gonna talk about it a little bit.
All right, don't forget, man. Check your local subscriptions for the Ultimate Brown Show. So, on the training camp tip when it comes to the Cleveland Browns have 4 or 5 quarterbacks in their room right now. We all know Deshaun Watson is the starter, but Deshaun now has 2 veteran backup quarterbacks behind him. And then, of course, there's DTR, who's going into his second year in the NFL. I was looking at ProFootballNetwork.com, and the author of the article listed one player from each team that can possibly find himself on a trade block. For the Cleveland Browns, it was DTR. How likely is it that DTR is traded before we get to the start of the season?
I think it's unlikely only because who would trade for him?
Right. What's his value?
He has no trade value. So I don't know. I can't see him getting traded. I mean, I guess it's possible.
Quarterbacks are always in demand,
for
I guess.
a 7th round pick or something like that. But
is he better than Dobbs?
I don't think so. Not right now. I mean,
he was drafted to be the long-term answer on a reasonable contract. That hasn't changed. So, I mean, I know that they went out and got Jameis, but I don't know that Jameis is going to be the backup for the next 5 years.
No, I would stick with him. Tyler Huntley's not guaranteed to make this team.
No, that would be my odd man out. I think DTR is on this team. I think they still view him as the long-term backup.
I agree. I think I'd keep DTR and move on from Tyler Huntley. I think maybe they brought in Huntley because they weren't sure how much Watson was going to be able to throw in the offseason.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe Tyler Huntley or DTR play well, and maybe they can trade one of them for a late round pick. Anything's possible, but I don't know. If I was going to write an article about guys on the trade block, I wouldn't include a guy who doesn't really have any trade value.
Yeah,
I'd be interested. I'm going to be very interested to see how this playing time is going to be split up in the offseason, because I really feel like you're going to see a lot of Jameis Winston. I think you might even see a lot more Tyler Huntley and DTR. I think
it's going to be Tyler Huntley and DTR. I mean, I don't know that Jameis Winston needs to play much in the preseason.
I think they'll have a battle. And Stefanski has shown, hey, if somebody looks good and they win a battle, he's been known to trade people in the preseason. So I wouldn't put it as a likely, but maybe there's a 30% chance if Huntley plays well that he can figure it out, because they can't sneak him on the practice squad. Because if Huntley makes the team, he's getting snatched up.
The Huntley signing was curious. It just seemed odd.
Right.
No.
Now they could go. I mean, if you could trade Dobbs, you could trade Huntley. Maybe you get the end of camp, and that's someone you can trade and get an asset for of some sort. But I don't know. I guess it's not, because DTR did have some injury concerns last year. But I'm just going off the basis that he was drafted here to be the long-term backup.
Right.
I thought he flashed a couple of times where I actually thought he was starting to figure some things out right when he got hurt in Denver.
He has a good arm.
Yeah.
I just don't understand like drafting him last year and then giving up a year later
Moving
for
on,
another
right.
for a 7th round pick or a 6th
Right.
round pick. Like, why would you do
Yeah,
that?
you've been like this is a guy you identified.
Yeah.
Is who could be the long-term backup.
Right.
Did he show you last year that he cannot do that job? I don't think
and
so.
like Tyler Huntley's not any good, so it's not like he's a clear better third quarterback.
Yeah.
I know he played for Baltimore and somehow they put him on the Pro Bowl, which made no sense, even though he didn't do anything. But I have never thought Tyler Huntley was any good when I've seen him play. And so I'd rather stick with DTR. I mean, yeah, if somebody offered me an interesting trade for whatever reason for DTR where I could get a player at another position that I found intriguing, of course I'd consider it.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that being realistic.
Yeah.
He got to get back to people pronouncing his name DTR. Listen, that was when he was hot. Like, he was fired. Listen, they was like, oh my, who's this kid?
Yeah.
So, you get back to it.
I like DTR. I remember when Jason said, I think it was after the Denver game, before he got hurt, you could just see his body language. You could see his confidence.
It was coming. It was
like everything was starting to get figured out for him. I think that having Huntley in here, to me, might be just to have an extra body in here for camp. We got to remember, I think he was dealing with that hip injury at the end of the year. And so you want to keep your main guys healthy. And I know he's not a starter or anything like that, but clearly the Browns have made a long-term investment in him. I think the only way I see them moving on from DTR is if we go through preseason and then you see a team with a plethora of quarterbacks on the same team get hurt, and all of a sudden his value increases due to his age, contract length, and however he performs during the preseason.
Yeah, I just can't see it increasing enough that it would be like, what's increasing to what? Like, what are you suggesting, Earl? Like, what's the what?
So I'm saying, like, if you know how we all get kind of crazy over performances in preseason, right?
Yeah.
There could be a situation to where a team might lose QB1 and QB2, and based on how he performed in preseason and need, the price might go up to a fourth. Who knows?
I guess if anything's possible. I think it's unlikely, but I mean, a fourth is not crazy in the right scenario. Didn't they draft him in the 5th round last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still wouldn't. I don't even think you could get a fourth for him. But even if you could, you just drafted him around that same spot last year.
Right.
I'd rather keep him. And if you're going to just trade a quarterback for a piece because you can get something, then trade Tyler Huntley
and you
for that 4th or 5th round pick.
And I'm for keeping these quarterbacks around, man. Like, after last year, I am not trying to be out here with the Phillip Walkers. Like, if you got enough, until I see that Deshaun Watson is 10, 12 games in, I'll be cool. But like them first 4, I'm gonna be anxious.
They're not gonna keep 4 quarterbacks though.
I know.
That. By the way, real briefly, there's been a lot of talk about expanding to 18 games, and part of that would be 2 buys, which I love because that's 20 weeks of football now. But they should expand rosters.
Yeah.
And they should allow teams to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
And if it's just for that position,
Yeah.
I would be all for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if the players union would do that, but I mean, the product is just better. Like, you go back to the Eagles and 49ers a couple years ago.
Right, that was a disaster.
It's just like,
And you could also just expand the roster as a whole, but specifically, every team could have 4 quarterbacks.
You know who don't need 4 quarterbacks?
Who's that?
You and G, because last year's fantasy season, y'all was quarterback hogs.
I can't. I realized I hurt my finger yesterday.
And Anthony gave
I don't know
you one of them.
I'm not sure if I dislocated.
Oh.
Not dislocated, but
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you were about to give me a high five. I'm
You
like,
was
no, I
like,
can't
no,
do
no,
that.
no.
Your middle finger.
My middle finger.
This
I
is-
I woke up in the middle of the night. It was hurting so bad. I had to take some painkiller.
dang,
Wow.
bro.
It's like so sore. I don't know what's happening.
Did you get bit by-
And I was about to get a high five from G.
You was
I'm
like, put that back.
Suffering
with that
from the
hand.
Anthony Antonelli.
What's that?
The Anthony Antonelli, that's what that
The
is.
Yeah,
finger-
that hurts.
I told you.
Random injury.
A New Yorker who can't use his middle finger. That's got to be
That's-
rough.
Yeah. Let me try.
That I don't know how that strategy came about, but I think me and Bull just realized it at the end.
Right.
It was like,
Always scoop up those quarterbacks. We're not done yet.
We're
All right.
done?
We got any super chats before?
No super chats, but we got about 60 seconds before we
Before we
also.
go
Anybody
through
got a final thought? Get
Well,
it out.
I'll tell you, we only have 10 teams right now because our executive producer, Steve Becker, dropped out of our fantasy league. What's up with that?
Oh, really?
What's
He
wrong?
dropped out.
What's up?
Oh, Steve texts about everything else. He ain't
Yeah.
text about that.
Hey, man, you going through something, Steve? Let me
what's
find
happening?
out. What's
He dropped
up, bro?
out. We
You
were at
dropped
11.
out.
We're going to have to find one anyway. Now we're at 10. Maybe we'll just
dropped
stay
out?
at 10 teams. I
Who
don't
else
know.
dropped out?
Well, I just maneuvered some other things.
Is, is
I thought
Jay
that
in
was
it?
part of the contract.
The Crawford brothers are in it. Brothers. Father and son.
Hey, they are brothers, by
Yeah,
the way.
they kinda are
You
like
said
brothers.
40 and slip. They brothers.
Yeah.
Hey, what up,
And
dog?
happy birthday to Jay. Yesterday was his birthday.
And my guy who drafted for me the last 2 years left our company.
Oh, boy.
What?
So now
I'm glad to hear that news.
I got a draft. I got a draft for myself.
Let's go. Suck it up.
Hey, real quick, 10 seconds. We did get a super chat in from Daryl. Daryl says, great show. Love you guys. Great time to be a Cleveland fan.
Thanks, Daryl.
See you on Channel 3.
There you go.
Peace.